The presenting partner of this episode of The Kick is Baby Bunting. Save up to 25% off selected products store-wide in their Stocktake sale now.
Welcome to The Kick, your expert-led podcast helping you explore and learn everything about getting pregnant, pregnancy, birth and becoming a parent.
On the podcast and our online pregnancy program, Grow My Baby, we share my experience of helping more than 4,000 babies to be born.
And our experience of running a women's health clinic and parenting 4 boys.
We're here to help everyone to feel empowered in pregnancy and birth with real-life practical information.
Welcome everyone, I'm Brigid Maloney and today it's just me and I'm interviewing a very special guest. We're so excited to bring Carmel Morabito to the show. She is the founder of Calm Babies and a mothercraft nurse and newborn toddler sleep specialist. She has 30 years hands-on experience in special care nurseries, hospitals, and now she works with parents offering personalised sleep solutions that work in the real world. So welcome Carmel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is one of my most favourite topics. I leave all the medical stuff to Pat. Sometimes I, put in my little bits and pieces, but the mothering, that's my sweet spot. And I just love it that we're going to share so much information for our listeners because for a lot of listeners, it's such a unknown, scary time, isn't it?
It really is. There's so much focus on pregnancy. Especially a lot of us are having our babies later on in life and a lot of women do, I know I did, struggled falling pregnant. And we focus on pregnancy and labour, which, not until you're there, which you realise you don't have any control over. And in the hospital, you're just in this, little love bubble. You're a little bit traumatised from your birth. You're there such a short time. There's so much focus on getting your milk in and there's actually no support. There's no information on how to care for your baby once you're home. Like nobody tells you how often to feed your baby. Nobody tells you that your baby doesn't know days and nights and how to train their internal body clock once you're home. Nobody tells you what happens if your baby stays awake too long. Nobody tells you the importance of swaddling. And even though you cannot set up a routine as such, you definitely can set up a pattern. And babies love predictability and consistency. And then I guess both of you know, okay, you're fed. Why are you crying? Okay, I've fed you, I've burped you. Oh, you must be tired. But if you don't have a pattern, you're like, okay, well, maybe you're hungry. Maybe you have wind. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you need more wake time. So it's quite overwhelming coming home and not having anybody to ask those questions to.
Oh, I totally agree. And, in our clinic, we do run antenatal classes and some of that is on the newborn parenting, but people aren't ready, but they're just not ready. Like they're so focused on the birth and I get that. But, looking at someone swaddling or it's just nice. It's fun to do that in the antenatal class. But and when you get home with the baby and all of a sudden this baby is your responsibility, like it really is a bit daunting. Like we could talk to you forever, Carmel, about this, but if we could just stick to maybe 0 to 3 weeks, what are the vital things that you would want every parent of a newborn to know when they come home from the hospital?
Yeah, in the first 0 to 3 weeks when you come home with your baby, it's really important that parents are kind to themselves. Having a village is really important. And knowing that if your job is really just to look after your baby, like household chores, entertaining visitors, trying to get out and about, try not to put too much pressure on yourself to do all those things and to have a support person that can help you set up a pattern, someone who can help you understand your baby's feeding needs, your baby's wake windows, starting to establish a bedtime routine, understand the importance of swaddling your baby. There's just a few, it sounds easy and it sounds simple, but if our timing is not quite right, your baby can just be left screaming the whole day, which can be very overwhelming and exhausting for new parents.
Oh, it is so, sleep deprivation is a form of torture. And, you're also recovering yourself. Like that's how, you've got to be kind to yourself.
Exactly. You've just been pregnant for 9 months, you've given birth, and nobody explains to you the tiredness your body feels in the first 6 to 12 weeks. It's a lot.
It is. The modern village, like we sort of say you need your village, and like I just want to explore that a bit more because people's village looks a lot different than it did maybe 20 years ago. What are you seeing with all your clients?
Yeah, so different. Grandparents are older because we're having our babies a little bit older ourselves, or their help is very old school, and new mums want to do things a little bit more modern. Having a village is even just setting up support for yourself before you come home. Pre-cook meals for yourself, so when you're exhausted, your baby's having an unsettled period between 5 p.m. till 8 p.m, you can pull out a cooked meal from the freezer, or you've bought some pre-cooked meals, or you have someone deliver some meals for you. Just some help with the housework, just so you feel not overwhelmed sitting in a house that hasn't been cleaned for a few weeks, because all your time is feeding and putting your baby to sleep and trying to recover yourself. And a lot of dads too, not all dads get a lot of time off work. So if that's the case, make sure that, you might have a friend check in on you throughout the day, or do some grocery shopping, or do some online shopping, just so it's not a lot of pressure on you thinking, I have to leave the house, I've got to get a few things from Coles. You just have it delivered to you.
Oh, yeah, that is something that has really taken off. Even like my youngest is 11, and really having your groceries delivered wasn't such a thing then.
Absolutely. That's the same with me. My daughter's 13, and it was like you had to be pretty wealthy to get an online delivery because it would cost a lot. But now it's like, why would you waste your time at the grocery store? If you want to get out as a mum and go for a bit of walk and chuck a few items under the pram, of course. But to literally go out and do a big weekly shop is just way too much pressure on yourself as a new mum or dad.
I want to talk about what a parent should expect or could expect for typical newborn behaviour in those first 0 to 3, maybe push it out to 0 to 6 weeks.
In the first 6 weeks, especially the first 3 weeks, we want to spend the time of setting up a feed, play, sleep pattern. In regards to routine, it's not a routine, it's a pattern, because your timings will be different every day. It's important for breastfed mums and bottle-fed mums to understand how to encourage full milk feeds, because if your baby is full, they will sleep better and they'll be more settled. In the first 3 weeks, there's lots of feeding, changing nappies, burping, and settling your baby to sleep. That's basically all your baby will do. You will definitely be up overnight feeding. You can encourage a longer stretch of sleep in a 24-hour period by doing smaller feeds more often through the day. Babies will naturally have a longer stretch of sleep in a 24-hour period. So waking your baby regularly through the day will help with that. If you let your baby sleep 5 to 6 hours during the day, you'll definitely be up every couple hours overnight, as they will try and catch up on calories. Also, one key point is in the first 3 weeks, make sure your baby gets lots of natural daylight, because that will really help with the production of serotonin that helps build that melatonin at night when you put your baby in a dark room.
All right, so you're saying that all their daytime sleeps, they're better off perhaps in a sunnier room, or would you still do the...
Yeah, obviously not in direct sunlight, but if you're feeling up to it, going out for a walk, making sure their bassinet is in lots of natural daylight to help with their circadian rhythm.
I remember all of my babies for the first, say, 3 weeks, they would just sleep like champions, and I thought, well, I'm doing a really good job at this, teaching my baby to sleep caper until like 6 weeks, and then I realised it wasn't me, it was the baby. So are you saying that in that time it's better to wake the baby up for that feed?
I personally do like to teach my parents that, because if your baby has smaller feeds more often through the day, they're going to be more inclined to have a longer stretch of sleep at night. Going back to your, the first 3 weeks, at the first 3 weeks, they are so tired, you could take them to a nightclub and they'll sleep. At 3 weeks, they have their first growth spurt. And I don't want parents to be upset with growth spurts or scared of growth spurts. Growth spurts are amazing. Your baby is growing and learning new things. It's just great if you had a little manual, and this is exactly why I've written my newborn online guide, because that's what it is. Every question that you have is in that manual, is in my online guide, but it is written in a very simple way that tired parents can read. So it's like you've got this little guide and it's like, oh, my baby's 3 weeks. All of a sudden now they're not sleeping as well. You can just grab the guide, 3 weeks, growth spurt. Oh, that's what's happening. How do I deal with this? Great. And then you're able to have a settled baby again. And then the same at 6 weeks. Oh gosh, it's happening again. They're unsettled. Grab the guide out. Oh, that's how I deal with that. Instead of Googling, getting confused with everything you read on Google, getting misinformation from family members, parents. It just helps you understand how to meet your baby's needs and adjust to them growing.
I love that. And also when you say opinions on Google, sometimes it's just you just need one opinion.
You just need one person. So my background, I used to work in special care nursery, which was amazing. So as sad as it was, as you'd know this, that, you know, parents going home without their babies, they came in every day and spent their day with nurses like me and their babies, and every question that they had that normal ward parents have when they go home was answered. So I learnt what parents need to know, and they just need support, and they want it delivered in a kind and caring way, and they want their parenting beliefs to be respected. So that's how I work with new parents. I just want kind education that helps fit in with their family, as well as help them and their baby get the sleep they need.
Yeah. One of the things is working out what your baby's individual sort of sleep cues are. And every newborn is a little bit different, and yeah, you'll learn your baby. But what are some simple sort of starters that we can give people about what a sleep cue might be?
Yeah, so tired sign, yawning's not a great tired sign. So in the first sort of newborn to 6 weeks, your baby's wake windows are between 45 minutes to an hour. If you're unsure about tired signs, if you kind of go by wake windows, and a lot of parents get confused with what is included in a wake window and how do you play with your newborn. So from the minute you take your baby out of their bassinet or they wake up from a contact nap on you, that's the start of their wake window. And in that time, we need to breastfeed them or bottle feed them, or both if you're doing both. They need to stay awake and alert so they can build enough sleep pressure, and also concentrate on feeding, because if they're sleeping on your breast or sleeping on the bottle, they're not filling up, then that will become an issue in an hour's time because they're hungry. Nappy change, burping, that's all their play. Like there's no real, like, let's go on the play mat and have a kick around. On the change table, that's their little time to stretch and have a kick around, maybe a little bit of tummy time. Basically, understanding that will help you understand your baby's tired cues. Otherwise, you'll see if your baby at the end of their feed and they've burped and their nappy change, if you put them on the play mat, you'll see they'll start to clench their fists. They might yawn, they might start to grizzle, their movements are super jerky, and then you know it's time for sleep.
Oh, I love that. Can we just go back to when you said the babies might fall asleep on the breast or the bottle? What are your tricks to stop the baby from falling asleep?
Strip naked. Just feed them in their nappy.
That's the baby, not you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? As a new mum, when you're breastfeeding, you don't care. You normally take
You're probably
your top
naked
off,
anyway, yeah.
strip off, you're hot, you're like trying to latch the baby. But yes, the baby. Feeding in a nappy, I find, or also too, if they're super sleepy, I like a little bowl of cool water with a cotton ball. You obviously squeeze the cotton ball out and just rub it gently on their face, tickle their chin. If they are super falling asleep, take them off, let them get a little bit, bothered,
Cranky.
pop them back on, because they do need to eat, and make sure that they're eating to fill up and also stimulate your supply as well.
You see, tricks of the trade. You just quickly mentioned keep the nappy on. That is one of my biggest tips. You might strip the baby off, but oh my God, please keep the nappy on, because
Keep the nappy on.
Yeah, it's in one end and out the other. And like you could be breastfeeding or bottle feeding and all of a sudden this most explosive poo can happen.
Yes, and in the first 3 weeks, every time you open their nappy, it's especially for little boys. When I first started nursing, how many times little boys peed on me until I was like, okay, we need to double nappy. Or I used to have like a little face washer, which I'd quickly put over their private parts. It's normal, but you just need to be prepared and make sure. That's another good tip. When you are doing a nappy change, be super prepared. Have a couple of nappies there in case you have a wet through or a little accident. Change of clothes, because you don't want to then be like having this baby that's crying because they got their nappy off and you're trying to find changes of clothes and all those sorts of things. So just being super prepared.
And it also prevents that little temptation that you might have to leave your baby on the change table while you go and get something, or while you might have only just popped over to the cupboard that's a metre away or whatever. Like, have it all there so you're always there present.
That's one of the things I teach all of my parents. We know your baby can't roll, but you just never know. And also too, newborns have that newborn scrunch, which actually they can roll with that newborn scrunch. So always have your hand on them while you're bending down, while you're trying to reach, or literally just pick them up and take them with you. Yeah. It's really important. Safety is really, and you're tired. Sometimes you just don't think. Yeah.
Parents, listen up, because right now there's a mega sale happening at Baby Bunting, and your wallet will thank you for these incredible savings. You can save 15 to 20% on selected Britax Plus series car seats, ensuring your little one travels in style. Or check out the massive savings of up to $300 off selected Maxi-Cosi and InfoSecure car seats. That's right, up to $300 off. And the savings continue right across the store with up to 25% off selected car seats, feeding products, Manchester prams, cots, and more. Everything you need for your growing family at prices that won't break the bank. Baby Bunting's huge Stalk Take sale is on now. Save up to 25% off selected products store-wide. T's and C's apply. Sale ends Sunday 29th of June, 11:59pm AEST.
We had Dr. Golly, the paediatrician, on, a while ago, and his big thing was burping. However, we didn't really talk about the techniques. What are your big techniques for burping?
And I love this about my newborn online guide is I've got videos of this, and I've worked with so many clients who actually they're not even clients, they've just bought my online guide, and I've got emails saying your videos are just so informative. So there's different ways. So burping is it really does help babies to release trapped gas. If babies aren't burped thoroughly throughout the day, that trapped gas builds and builds and builds. And in the late evening, when we've all heard, I'll go on about that in a minute, the witching hour. The witching hour is an unsettled period that your baby has, usually in the late afternoon. And if your baby is overtired and hasn't fed enough throughout the day and has trapped gas throughout the day, that witching hour can be really, really unmanageable. So by making sure your baby is well rested and having full feeds and well burped throughout the day, that will help your witching hour to be manageable. The best way I love to show parents how to burp their babies is just old school over their shoulder, because the pressure with their tummy on your body can help release the gas. And I find my parents just feel a little bit more coordinated with holding their baby's head as well. And it's great for dads because dads' hands are so big and they just find that they have more control as well.
And there's nothing so satisfying as the baby going, yeah.
It's the only time that you're applauded for making bodily noises.
Yes, exactly. Also, another little tip is to put the burp cloth on your shoulder. And
when you say burp cloth, this is the only time I recommend cloth nappies. Cloth nappies to use as cloth nappies. If that's what you want to do, amazing. Me personally, I'm a mum that's let's just make things easy for ourselves. I do love disposable nappies. but the cloth nappies are amazing to use. I call them chuck cloths.
Yeah.
Over the shoulder, while you're burping, even just popping in your baby's bassinet, as long as you can tuck it in tight underneath their head. So if they're positing while they're, in their cot or bassinet, we're not having to make more work for ourselves and wash, 3 sets of sheets in a day.
Yeah. Well, I always had cloth nappies, but had disposables as well. But the cloth nappies only for the chuck cloths and for everything else. And now I use them as like clean-up cloths. They're still pretty good.
Yeah. And for all those mums who are doing cloth nappies, I applaud you. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. But for me, my mum lived far away, so my village was limited, so I just tried to do everything that was going to be less work for me. I wanted to maximise my time looking after my daughter and resting.
Yeah. Our physio, I just want to put it in there. So our physio said that resting for new parents is horizontal rest. Yeah, just to put that in people's mind, like you're having horizontal rest at least a couple of times during the day.
Yes, and when you rest, you make milk. So for all my breastfeeding mamas, rest is really important. But with our busy lifestyles and our brains, a lot of mums and dads come home and we feel pressure to catch up with friends for coffee, have the house clean, take the dog for a walk, like all those things just go to the back burner. You need to, your whole day, by the time you feed your baby and settle your baby, it's time to do it all again. And you feed yourself, your day's gone.
Yeah. And I don't know whether this is going to resonate with anyone, but it took a long time for me to fully embrace that role as I'm looking after a whole new human. I thought my role was when I finished full-time work to look after my new human, that I could also manage the house, have it spotless, make sure that I was still doing all the social calendar and actually that was guilt. I felt guilty that I was at home and my husband had to work.
Yes, and we all do it to ourselves. And it's not till it's broken down and you hear it from someone else. This little baby is your full-time job now. Yeah. And that's why before you have your baby or, you set yourself up with meals in the freezer, online shopping. If you've got a dog and you're just like, I just can't get out to walk the dog today, you get a dog walker or a friend come over to help. And it's okay. Like you're healing. You've just had a baby. You're wanting to get to know your baby. You're tired. You need to have a little rest after lunch so you can deal with the witching hour and bedtime. And also too, we're up constantly overnight, which we weren't before. Even if you have a very settled baby, most newborns will feed 3 to 4 hourly overnight. So, and when you're up for at least an hour. By the time you feed them, change them, feed them, then you get yourself back to sleep. It's an hour gone. So it's that broken sleep that our bodies are not used to, that we really do need to be kind to ourselves through the day and have a rest. And that's why I love some cultures that, you have who have confinement nurses or their mums come to live with them. There's a reason for that. We all don't have that pleasure, but there's ways if we don't have a village that we can set up support to help our day run a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, I love that too. We recently had a patient in who is Indian, and it was her first day out of the house. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what it's actually called, but 40 days she'd been in the home.
Confinement.
Yeah, and had been supported by the people in her community. And it's a special occasion. Like people come to the house to watch them step over the threshold for the first time. I thought, wow, well, that's what we need to do. Like I really think that women who are at home having their first time at home with their newborn, we need to revere that a lot more. I'd like to see our culture. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more because Asian culture does it as well. Indian culture, and I have a lot of Asian and Indian clients, and you can guarantee that they have a lot of milk because they rest and they eat soul food. So their mum or their mother-in-law will cook all like beautiful bone broths that help with milk supply. Obviously, I'm definitely not saying you shouldn't get out, because we also need to get out for our mental health. And we also, as a mum, going out for an hour walk or just walking down to the coffee shop with your baby in the pram, if you're up to it, is like a little overseas holiday after having a baby. It's just moderation. Or if you get up one day and you feel like you can't go out, it's okay to cancel. It's okay to not go out. But rest is very important, especially in the first 6 weeks.
If you don't feel up to going out, one thing that I did is sometimes you just still get up and get dressed. That doesn't involve tracksuit, activewear and a mum bun. You can just still do that. Just dress.
Exactly, and it makes you feel better.
Yeah. All right, so I want to recap on 0 to 3. So you might have a baby that sleeps a lot. Your recommendation is that, you got to get the day feeds in, wake them up. But other than that, there's not much pattern really that starts until about 6 weeks. Is that correct?
No, you can do a pattern from the minute you get home. It's and that pattern is feed, play, sleep in that order. Doesn't mean you have to sleep your baby in their cot or their bassinet. You can contact nap, but if your baby is well fed and had an age appropriate amount of wake time, they will fall asleep and stay asleep a lot easier. So your pattern is set up from the minute you get home. Routine, which means timing, so doing the same thing at the same time every day, is usually more doable around the 8-week mark. The first 6 weeks, it's a pattern. So if someone says to you, can we catch up on Saturday? You'll be like, I'll let you know in the morning, because then I'll know my baby's feed time. So if your baby wakes up at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, you know that you're feeding your baby 3 hourly that day, then you'll know your baby's going to be feeding at 7, 10, 1, 4 and 7. So you might come out at 1 p.m. I'll be feeding my baby. They'll be awake. You'll get to see them.
I also don't want to confuse people too. In the early stages, we're going to get a breastfeeding consultant, but those that are choosing to breastfeed, there's merit in putting the baby on the breast to get your milk stimulated and coming in, isn't there?
Absolutely. So until your milk is in, it's really important that you put your baby on regularly to help your milk come in. But once your milk is in, it's nice to try and encourage your baby to have full milk feed, so you don't end up with a baby feeding every hour, nipple damage, exhaustion, because that's when your mental health can really decline.
Yep. All 4 babies were on a feed, play, sleep routine. I'm a massive fan of it. But it is that some people might have a different opinion, and that is to feed the baby to sleep. I could never see how that would work. But what would you do if the baby's unsettled? Sometimes I would put the baby back on the boob just for that little top up just before I put him to bed.
And that's fine, because they're so little. They mightn't have had enough in their feed 2 hours ago. So they're so little. It does take at least 6 weeks to establish breastfeeding. You don't want your baby to be hungry. And in that, getting back to that question you just asked, you might feed your baby to sleep. In the first 3 to 6 weeks, you are feeding your baby to sleep. By the time you feed them, burp them, change them, then feed them the other side, they will feed to sleep. So that's fine. It's just as they get a little bit older and they have a little bit of a longer wake window, that's when we start to make sure that we feed them, and then at the end of their wake window, we have playtime. But in the first 0 to 6 weeks, you do feed your baby to sleep, because their wake window is so short. By the time they feed one boob, change their nappy, burp them, they're exhausted. A baby breastfeeding is equivalent to us running around a football field. So they are done by the end. Yeah, it's just making sure when they are on the boob that they're drinking. If your baby is on the boob for 40 minutes but just suckling and sleeping, you take them off, you swaddle them, you put them in the bassinet, they're going to cry because they're hungry. So that's what I'm talking about, setting up a pattern, ensuring that when they're feeding, they're feeding.
Yeah. And what about the dummy? Are you a fan of the dummy, Carmel?
I love a dummy. I love a dummy. It has so many calming qualities. the best advice I can give any parent, the best thing about having your own baby is you make the decisions. It's your rules as such. If you're dead against a dummy, don't use it. I love a dummy because some babies just love to suck. They even say it can protect against SIDS. That's on the Red Nose website. Some babies are just, if they've got a little bit of an upset tummy or a little bit of colic in the late evening, that sucking motion can help their tummy feel a lot more settled. And the sucking motion also helps soothe them off to sleep. If you don't give your baby a dummy and they do love to suck, that's when a lot of parents get stuck into that feeding every hour. So they're just really using you as a dummy. And if you don't mind that, that's not wrong. It's fine. But your life will become very overwhelming because you'll be quite exhausted. You can then risk nipple damage.
Hi there, it's Ashani Dante here.
And me, Dr. Anastasia Horonis.
We are the hosts of But Are You Happy? Your favourite self-development podcast.
Tune in this Saturday to find out why exactly you keep dating the wrong people and how to stop.
But Are You Happy? New eps drop every Saturday morning, wherever you get your podcasts.
The other thing that I think is a lot of pressure on mums. You know, they go to their mums group and everybody starts talking about how many times they had to get up at night or that their baby slept through the night. Or me personally, I found that super competitive but I'm a competitive person, so it's on me. But I found that in our mothers group that wasn't very supportive for me, because none of my babies slept through till about 10 months.
And that's okay. Yeah. So I get this a lot. I'm so lucky in my job. Probably 90% of my work is word of mouth. I have had calm babies for 16 years. So I'm getting referrals from people with teenagers that I helped that have got friends that have had new babies. And some mothers groups, I actually have joined them. I'm part of this group now. I've helped quite a few of them in the group. They're a beautiful bunch. And some mothers groups, I feel like I'm on that movie Mean Girls. I feel sick in my stomach, the amount of bullying that goes. I'd call it bullying because if you say, oh, my baby's up all night, I'm exhausted, and you hear a mum say, oh, suck it up, that's called being a mum. Instead of going, okay, what's happening? Do you think maybe you need to talk to your maternal health nurse, or do you think maybe you need a sleep consultant? Even though you can't sleep train a newborn, just someone to talk to that can help you set up a pattern. Like, is your baby gaining weight? Is your baby gaining too much weight? Is your baby awake a lot? Just supportive support and no judgment. Like, it's okay if your baby's still waking up 3 times overnight, that's fine. If your baby's sleeping through, that's also fine. Just be gentle, I guess, to the women around in your circle.
At 10 months, then I would get sick of them waking up. And so then we'd go through this very gradual, I suppose, sleep training for that baby to sleep through. And it would last maybe 2 nights. I know we've jumped ahead to 10 months, but it would last a couple of nights and then they would start sleeping through. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I do that earlier?
Yes, everyone says that. Everyone I work with, they're like, why didn't I do this earlier? And everyone that I work with in the newborn phase, in 0 to 3 months, everyone says this. This is not sleep training. I just wish I was shown how to meet all of my baby's needs, because with newborns, if you just meet all of their needs, they just sleep. If they are full and they don't have pain, and swaddling is a big one.
Carmel, I absolutely love swaddling. I'm glad that you've brought it up quite a few times. I used to think that we could swaddle for Australia, both between Pat and I. What do you think about swaddling? I
love swaddling. Babies sleep so much better when they're swaddled with their arms down. Coming from a nursing background, working in special care nursery, as soon as we fed our preemie babies and swaddled them, they were out. For people who don't know, babies have a startle reflex, which is an involuntary movement where their arms move. The more tired they become, the more prominent that reflex happens. Which means if imagine you're trying to sleep and your arms are going like this, you're not going to sleep well. When I started my business 16 years ago and I started working privately in people's homes, it really hit home to me that parents were unsure how to swaddle. And in hospital, you just use the old school muslin swaddles. Your babies are so tired, they don't fight the swaddle, and it works. But when you go home, babies would break out quite easily from the swaddle, from the old traditional muslin swaddle. So then companies designed arms-in sleeping bags, which I was like, great, that's a great idea. But because there was no inner swaddle, babies were still getting their arms up and then they were punching themselves under the chin and keeping themselves awake. So I took it upon myself in 2020 through COVID to design my own swaddle bag. It's a hybrid swaddle bag. It's made of soft bamboo. It's a zip-up sleeping bag, but inside is a beautiful soft swaddle. You swaddle your baby, you zip them up. It's foolproof. Dads love to use it because it's super easy to use and your baby sleeps. They don't escape from it. So swaddling really does help your baby fall asleep and stay asleep because it helps stop that startle reflex.
I'm always amazed when I'm chatting to people with a newborn and they say, I say, how are you going with swaddling? And they say, look, I don't think my baby likes swaddling. You know, they really are fussy when I'm putting it on. And like, so I've just got this hybrid thing where I've got one arm out. He always likes one arm out, or he likes both arms out, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think your baby's thinking any of that.
No.
Yeah,
exactly. And then you talk to them and their baby's not sleeping. I'll be honest, I often lose sleep consultant clients after they buy the Calm Swaddle. Multiple times they've booked my service and they've bought the Calm Swaddle, and then I've got a message and they're like, I am so sorry, but my baby's actually sleeping now. I'm like, that is the best cancellation. This is exactly why I've designed the Calm Swaddle. I just want a product that parents can use that helps their baby sleep. That makes me so happy because I just would feel bad going out to visit clients with newborns, and as soon as I swaddled them, they slept. And they're like, what? I got you all the way out here and all it was the swaddle. Yeah. It's a big thing. And I'm not ditching parents who don't want to use a swaddle, but in my experience, I've been doing this for 31 years. You've been in the industry as well. Babies just feel secure when they're cuddled, and the swaddle mimics that.
I say to them, look, how tight do you think it is there in your belly? Like that baby is totally wrapped up in all your abdominal muscles and your uterus, and like they're loving being really tight. So, yeah, it's not because they're not objecting.
Yeah.
Babies do fuss a little bit when you put them in.
Yes, and it's normal.
But you can see that it's normal, and you see that instant calm, don't you? As soon as they, like when I used to swaddle the boys, they'd sort of fight a little bit, and then you'd wrap it, and you'd slowly see them just all of a sudden the calm was coming over them.
Yes, I got a text message yesterday from a client who bought she's an online client, so she bought my newborn online program. Her little girl is 6 weeks of age, and she got the Calm Swaddle yesterday, and she said, Carmel, as I was swaddling her on the change table, she fell asleep. She's like, what is this product? She's like, I had to message you.
And I suppose as adults even, we buy weighted blankets and all of that. Like it's a nervous system
it's
regulation.
The security, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, Carmel, we've talked about so much with you, and there would be so much more that we could talk about. But I just think that we might leave it there today for parents that are bringing home their baby for the first time, like listen to this episode. And if they want to find you, Carmel, how do they get in touch with you?
Everyone can find me via my Instagram. My handle is calm.babies, or my website is www.calmbabies.com.au.
Great. And I'll put those links into the website. And Carmel, you've got an offer for our listeners too, haven't you?
I certainly do. So Kick 10 will give you $10 off store-wide on any purchase.
Yeah, that's a really great offer. And if anyone is there listening to this episode and thinking, actually, I don't know what I'm doing when I bring my baby home, you might be 38 weeks, 39 weeks pregnant and very focused on the birth, but you might have a bit of time to just start doing the learning that you need for when you bring your baby home. So highly recommend hopping onto Carmel's website and seeing what help you can get from Carmel.
I also wanted to talk about my Calm Babies Village. So any new parent who purchases my newborn online guide bundle, which includes the newborn online guide with the Calm Swaddle, you automatically get to enter my village. And I have beautiful first-time mums in there that all follow my guide, and we all chat in there regularly. It's nice to have a little supportive village with other mums who are doing the same as you are.
Oh, how fantastic. And so, we mentioned if you're in one of those mean mum groups, maybe you might choose to join another one that suits you better. Carmel, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure our listeners have gotten tons of information from this episode. All right, thanks for that. Bye for now. Well, that's it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We love bringing you experts like this to help increase your knowledge around not just pregnancy, but the parenting experience. We also really love your topic suggestions. So just jump onto our Instagram, so that's the Kick Pregnancy Podcast, or jump onto our website, growmybaby.com.au, if you want a free newsletter that has a week-by-week guide for you during your pregnancy, which also includes parenting advice 6 weeks postpartum. So until next week, everybody, keep well, keep growing your baby, and we'll be in your ears next week. Bye for now.
Hey, even though Dr. Pat is, a doctor, and we get lots of other doctors and other experts on our podcast, I just need to remind you that this podcast is for informational purposes only. We share lots of medical insights and experience, but everything we talk about is general in nature and may not apply to your specific situation. Please always consult with your own healthcare provider for your individual medical advice when you grow your baby.
The presenting partner of this episode of The Kick was Baby Bunting. Save up to 25% off selected products store-wide in their Stalk Take sale now.